people, and we have like 6 on the screen, more or less. Question for all of you: can we record this? Are you
Yes.
all right? Okay.
Yeah.
Can we- Okay, thank you so much. So thank you. This is our first out of 2 meetings before leaving for El Camino. And I think I start with maybe each of us introducing. So as you know, I'm Margaret Stefanski. I'm the chair of Modern Languages Department. And here are my colleagues. And then we have some students and more faculty joining us in the room, and they will be also talking about themselves. And then there's a few kind of, part of the orientation. And then Dr. Davide Salvo is going to present on the history of El Camino. So thank you so much for coming here. And then, yeah, let's introduce ourselves.
Okay. So, most of you know me, I'm Dr. Reisma. I work with Margaret. Yeah. And we did the Camino one different route, so I'm looking forward to doing this one. And as always, just I don't know what else do you need to know. If you have any questions, you can talk to me and I'll answer them. And here is
hello, I'm Davide Salvo, and I will be part also the Camino. And what else? I mean, I'm a teacher. I'm teaching at UB, and very looks to the Camino in May.
Thank you.
the online people introduce themselves first.
We have you guys on the large screen here. So if you can introduce yourself, that would be great. Lucy, can we start with you?
Yes, I am Lucy Kabza. I am from Southeastern Louisiana University in Louisiana, and I will be joining you for El Camino.
And Lucy is a mathematician.
Yes, science.
That's important. That's important because we have
Are you giving a warning, Margaret?
early warning right there. Okay.
Maybe
Who's next?
Lupita?
Lupita? Oh, Lupita, it's so nice kind of to
Hi.
relate your face. So thank you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lupita Quiroz from Puebla, Mexico. I'm Richard's former student, and I'm glad to have to join to you to El Camino.
Thank you.
Maybe we just call it people something else.
Marianne, are you there? Yeah. Armin, can you introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Arvin Cargo. I'm a physics professor at Loyola University, New Orleans. And I do not speak Spanish, but I'm somewhat familiar with Camino because I did walk Camino Frances in 2016 from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port to Santiago.
Thank you, Armin. Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma Marzek. I'm a student at Canisius College, Spanish and Psych major, and yeah.
Caitlin?
Hi, my name is Caitlin. I am a 2014 graduate of Canisius and an alumna of the Spanish program, and I currently work at the International Institute of Buffalo, and I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you and experience this trip together.
Thank you. Monica, Monica, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Monica. I'm also an alum of Canisius and of the Spanish department, and I am very much looking forward to the Camino.
Thank you. Joanne, are you there?
Hi, yes, this is Joanne Buffalino, and Davide is my nephew, and I've got very excited to hear this wonderful, journey about the Camino, and I'm looking so forward to it.
Thank you. And Marianne, again, are you there? She's working.
She's on
or on mute.
Hi, can you hear me now? Hi, I'm a friend of Joanne's. She introduced me to this trip. I'm very excited to go on the trip with all of you and excited to hear more today in this meeting.
Thank you, Marianne. And let's start with our in-person participants. Erin, can we start with you?
Just from here,
Yeah,
right?
'cause I think we can see you.
Okay, hi. I'm Dr. Erin Robinson. I'm a professor here at Canisius, Sociology, Criminal Justice, and Environmental Studies. I'm super excited to be with you all and to experience El Camino this summer.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ian Caskey. I'm a student here. I'm a journalist. Super excited to be going on this.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Eamon. I'm a student of Dr. Richards and Dr. Stefanski's, and I am learning Spanish right now. I'm excited to go with all of you.
Thank you.
I'm Patrick Healy. I'm a political science student at Canisius, and I forget whether it was Sarah. I think it might have been Eamon who encouraged me to first go on this, but I know some people on this. I'm really excited to adventure with them and also get to know everyone else.
Hi, I'm Sarah Lynch. I'm a junior and I'm a student here at Canisius. I'm in 4 different programs kind of, so marketing, comm, Spanish, digital media, and entrepreneurship. And I'm excited to go on the Camino with y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So before we have Davide introducing the origins of El Camino, I would like to go over a few things on my agenda. So our pack list. I would like you really to go over the pack list. It was sent to you probably a couple weeks ago in Spanish and in English. This is a very important part of our trip. So please review that pack carefully. Also, the health insurance. Several people already confirmed to me that they either do want health insurance through TSA or they don't want that health insurance because they have their own. So if you confirm to me, if you're on the list that I sent earlier, and if anything changed, just please let me know. Okay, so far I have, I believe, 3 people that are dropping that health insurance, but if you want to add that, just let me know as soon as possible. And just one more thing, TSA is arranging our transportation from La Coruña to Santiago on the 29th. If you want to take advantage of the free transportation transfer, please let me know as soon as possible. And just one more thing, we do have a meeting, our second meeting scheduled for next week, but we won't be able to do that next week. We have to postpone it till the end of April, which makes sense because there will be a lot of different things going on and will be just before our meeting, our actually departure. And what else? We have a question.
I have a quick question. Did you mean from Santiago back to La Coruña?
From Santiago to La Coruña,
Right,
yes.
right.
Did I say something different?
Yeah, I just want to make
Oh,
sure.
that backwards? Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So it's from Santiago to La Coruña on the 29th. If you need to transfer back to La Coruña, where we started, let me know as soon as possible, okay? And I think this is it when it comes to kind of a short introduction orientation. I'm sure there will be more things coming. You also probably received by now our accommodations, the list of hotels, all the activities that we'll be doing on our way. I hope that everything is all right. I hope that you know, the accommodations meet your expectations. So thank you so much. And here's Davide, and Davide will talk to us and present a PowerPoint on the history of El Camino. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Okay.
Wait 1 second.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so today this is an introduction to the history of the Camino. It's a very interesting history, very rich. So I will
Second, Dr.
Yeah. So we will go through the ancient time. We will start with the Romans, then with the barbarians, the so-called barbarians, and then we will see the medieval legend about the establishment of the cult of Saint James and the shrine in Santiago. Also, I don't know what is your knowledge of the Bible, of Saint James, so I put together also some information about Saint James, the information that we can read in the New Testament, in the Gospels, but also in later Christian text, and then all this medieval legend about this saint. So let's start. Let's start with the Romans. So Spain, the Iberian Peninsula, was part of the Roman state. Part of the peninsula, the eastern, the southern part, became part of the Roman state very early, during the Punic War. But the northwestern corner of the peninsula, where is today Galicia, became part of the Roman Empire very late. The Romans struggled a lot with this part of the peninsula because there was a very strong Celtic background. So these Celtic tribes fought very hard against the Romans. So that's why this corner, the northwestern corner of the peninsula, became part of the Roman Empire late. By the time of Emperor Augustus, 25 BC, the conquest of the peninsula was completed. And Emperor Augustus created these three provinces. The first one, it is the Tarraconensis, it's huge. It's basically half of the peninsula. And Galicia, where is Santiago today, was part of this province, Tarraconensis. Then there was Lusitania, was basically Portugal, and Baetica, that is Andalusia. So these were the three provinces during the early and middle Roman Empire. Later, in the 3rd century, the province of Tarraconensis was split and new provinces were created. The emperor who created this new province was Diocletian. I don't know if you are familiar with these Roman emperors, but this was in the late 3rd century. And this is the first time that the word, Galicia, is used officially for a territory in Spain. So the province of Galicia, it's for the first time established at this point. Then the year after this, in the 5th century, 5th, 6th, 7th century, are very period of a lot of turmoils. So we have these Germanic tribes that probably you know as barbarians. So that's how the Romans, the Greeks called these Germanic tribes, arrived in the Iberian Peninsula, and they settled in different parts of the peninsula. For us, there are two of these Germanic tribes are important. The first one are the Suebi. They are from southern Germany, where is today Bavaria. So they move all the way from Germany to Galicia. And they established this kingdom, the Suebi kingdom of Galicia. So they use actually this name, Galicia. Later, after 150 years, another tribe, another barbarians came to Spain. These were the Visigoths. So these Visigoths, after several wars, and after defeating the Suebi, created this kingdom, the kingdom of the Visigoths. So this is basically a very brief, I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of historical information. This is basically the basic of history of the Iberian Peninsula that are relevant for better understanding the cult of Saint James. Okay, also something else that is important for fully understanding the worshipping of Saint James, it's the religion during the Roman and the Celtic time, so pre-Christian religion. It seems that in the Iberian Peninsula, there were tons of gods. There were as many as 300 gods. Why all these gods in the Iberian Peninsula? Probably was because in the peninsula you have many indigenous groups. You have the Celt, the Iberian, the Basque. So each of these natives, these indigenous group, had their own gods. Then I will call these superpowers. Those superpowers were Phoenician, Greeks, and Roman. Arrive in the Iberian Peninsula, and they brought their own gods. So you have indigenous god, the Greco-Roman Phoenician god, and this created this lot of deities. Also, religion in the ancient time was different from religion is today. Today, the main religion are monotheistic. So that means that they worship one God. Christianity, Islam, Judaism. In the ancient time, instead, the 98% of religion were polytheistic. So they have a lot of gods. Think about the Roman and the Greek. Zeus, Jupiter, Hera, Juno, Athena, Minerva, so all these. So these were very common in the ancient time. Also are very interesting also what the scholar call the Hispano-Roman deities. Indigenous gods were transformed, Romanized, or were assimilated to Roman gods. Here a few examples. The indigenous gods of war, Tarbukelis, became associated with Mars. Remember that in all the ancient civilization, there was a god of war. War was very important. It was even part of the religion. So there is a god of war everywhere in the ancient time. Then this other example, I put this picture, it's very interesting about, for example, another Roman god, Neptune. This god probably, as it's represented in that picture, was an indigenous god, was a young man with a crescent. So these are not characteristic of Neptune at all. They are not characteristic of Neptune, so that means that this indigenous god was assimilated to this Roman god. Also, in this case, it's quite interesting because the indigenous god probably was a god related to the moon. And this is really, really exceptional because usually the moon is related to a female goddess. So this is very unique and the moon is related to a male god, very young. So in the Greco-Roman world, you don't have a young Neptune. Usually Neptune is old, so it's not a young man. So these are just a few, there are tons of examples, but this is a few examples of this pre-Christian religion. Keep this in mind about this Romanization of indigenous cult, because then we will see the same about Christianization of pagan cult. And probably St. James was the Christianization of an indigenous Celtic cult in Galicia. Okay, so then Christianity became the main religion in the Roman Empire. So, and between the 4th and 8th century CE, there was an intense Christianization of the Roman Empire in general, but of the Iberian Peninsula in particularly. We have a lot of conversion of pagan holy site in Christian site, a lot of Celtic pagan gods assimilated to Christian saint. In this, we have a very powerful Spanish bishop who worked very hard in this Christianization of the Iberian Peninsula. Here I gave you two names that we will find again in a few slides: Isidore of Seville and Martin of Braga. Also, Spain became very important for Christianity, it became one of the center of Christianity. It was so important that there were many church councils were held in Spain. So it became a very important region for Christianity. So, although there were all this Christianization of pagan cult, some of these pagan cult survived and coexist with Christian ritual throughout all the Middle Ages and even beyond. This is an example. This is this Asturian creature called Bus Gorsu, was a spirit of the forest. Even in the late Middle Ages, the people in Asturia and in Galicia worshipped this creature. He was so popular that Martin of Praga considered him a demon. Basically, warned the people, say, do not worship Boscoso because it's a demon, you would be a sinner. So these were attempts to cancel the pagan culture or Christianize the pagan. And we have many examples. I mean, Halloween, for example, was a pagan culture, and then All Saints, the Christian All Saints holiday was imposed on Halloween. Christmas, it's on December 25th, not because Jesus was born on December 25th, but because there was an important pagan festivity for a pagan god. So that it's the Christian put this important celebration, the birth of Jesus, in that particular date on December 25th. And then we have some of these, many of these Christian ritual and cult, for example, the Virgin de Robledo had their origin in the pagan religion. So many of these creatures then became the Virgin Mary, Saint James, so all these saints. So this is a very, it's a very important phenomenon that happened in all the Roman Empire, not just in Spain, but in Spain it was particularly intense. Another characteristic of the Iberian Christianity was the conversion of these barbarians into the right form of Christianity. We talk about Christianity, but in antiquity there were different forms of Christianity. One, the main, what I hear in the PowerPoint called Roman Catholic. It's a little bit anachronistic, use the word Roman Catholic, but for avoiding confusion with other terms, I use Roman Catholic. So this Roman Catholic Christianity was the Nicene Creed. So basically it's the Christianity that was decided, was the right form of Christianity during the Council of Nicaea, where Emperor Constantine sit with the bishop and decided the main doctrine and the ritual of the Catholic Church. However, there were other forms of Christianity. These other forms of Christianity were deemed heretical, heresies. Among these heresies, there was this Arianism. All these barbarians, the Suevi and the Visigoths, were Arian Christians. So that's why all these Spanish bishops that instead were Nicene Christian convert all these people. Convert first the king, but when a king convert, all his subject convert as well. So this is another big and important thing to keep in mind about Spanish Iberian Christianity, conversion from Arianism to Roman Catholic. And I picked this because it's a great example of how powerful the church was in Spain at this point. So 5th, 6th, 7th century, 8th century. So when the cult of St. James was established, the Spanish church was super powerful, was so powerful that these kings, these barbarian kings, in this case, the Visigoth kings, created this amazing, stunning treasure. It's called the treasure of GUARRAZAR. The pieces in this treasure are amazing. There are lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, blue sapphire from Sri Lanka. So this Visigoth king get all this precious material, create all this crown and cross, and donated to the church as a sign of submission to the church. So here you see the kings submit to the church. So super powerful at this point, the church in Spain. Did you see? These are some of the artifacts in this treasure. Crowns, cross, it's amazing. Okay, so this was enough for the historical background about Spain at the time when the worship of St. James began start. Now, let's look what it is, James. I mean, St. James, we heard about St. James, but who really was it is St. James, James the Apostle? We don't have a lot of information. From the Gospel of Mark, we know that he was the brother of John, the other apostle, and both were the son of Zebedee. And it seems that Jesus gave them a nickname, Sons of Thunder. It seems that James was a little bit, as a first character, he was a little bit hot-tempered, this apostle. But I repeat, we don't have a lot of information. From many episodes in the Gospel, it seems that James, his brother John, and Peter were very close to Jesus. They were the three apostles who were really close, associated to Jesus. And so it's a very important apostle. So with Peter and John, it's an important figure in the early Christianity. St. James in Spanish is San Iago. Iago is the Spanish equivalent of James, then became the patron saint of Spain. Its feast is on July 25th. So from the Gospel, we just know that he asked his brother the name of the father and was close to Jesus. Oh, this is it. Last summer with Richard, we went to Ravenna, where there are beautiful mosaics. And in this church, there was a mosaic of Jacob. These are pictures that I took there. So I was going through the picture. I said, oh my God, this is St. James. So, and I put here. So this is the importance of St. James at his, in this moment. So this is the shell also. Yes, the shell, yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. These mosaics in Ravenna are amazing, yeah. So, more information about James, we have more information from the Act of the Apostle. From this text, we know that James was killed, was murdered by order of King Herod in 44 BC, so pretty early. So it is the first apostle to be martyrized. So it's very early. Peter, for example, was martyrized 20 years later. So it was the first apostle to be martyrized. That's it. We don't know anything else about him. And look here in the Act of the Apostle, basically say that he was killed with a sword. Nothing else. Very generic reference. So he was killed with a sword. Later, Christian authors, 3rd century, 4th century, they had more detail about his martyrdom. They say that James never left Jerusalem, and this will be a problem with how James arrived in Spain. If he never, yeah, we will see this. And they say that he was beheaded. So this is an important detail. So from sword, now we know that he was decapitated. So this story of the decapitation of St. James became very popular, so popular then in 420, a chapel was built on the site where supposedly his head was buried. So there was this story, this legend say that when James was decapitated, there were friends, followers with him who picked the head and brought it to the first bishop of Jerusalem. The first bishop of Jerusalem buried the head in his garden, in his house. And in this place, in the garden, in the house of this first bishop of Jerusalem, in the 5th century, was built this chapel. Later, in the Middle Ages, on top of this chapel was built a huge cathedral. Today, this cathedral is, if you go to Jerusalem, you can visit this cathedral, is the Armenian Cathedral of St. James. In this Armenian Cathedral of St. James, there is an altar, here I put the picture, an altar where there was the original shrine, and in this altar there is an image here, it's very dark, so there is an image with the head of St. James. So signifying that in that particular spot, there was the head of St. James was buried. So this is an important detail that we need to keep in mind. Okay, so still, in the 5th century, there is no evidence of James being in Spain completely. We have all the detail that we have until that point is James never left Jerusalem. So how is James then, the Apostle James, arrived in Galicia? How was the story? What were the legend about this? The first written evidence of a connection between James and Spain is from this Swiss monk called Notker of St. Gall. He wrote a martyrology. Martyrology was a literary genre where all these writers describe the martyrdom of saints, sometimes with very gruesome and gory detail about the killing of the martyrs. In this work, in this martyrology, basically Notker said that sometime after Pentecost, St. Peter cast lots for with the apostle to determine which part of the world each apostle should bring the gospel. And it seemed that James was chosen to bring the gospel to Spain. So this is the first written evidence of an trip, a voyage of James in Spain. The story also continues that he brought the gospel to Spain, he returned to Jerusalem and he was decapitated. Because, I mean, they cannot really ignore the tradition of the decapitation in Jerusalem. So you need to take in account this. So he went there, come back in Jerusalem, and he was killed. Again, this is the first written mention of this story. This doesn't mean that the story was not already known before this. It probably was an oral legend. So there was an oral legend behind, but I repeat, this is the first time. Look at the date also. So Notker of Sangal was born in 840, died in 912. So this is the same period when the tomb of St. James was discovered. So it seems that the martyrology was written around 870, in the late 860, 870. So in the same period that there was the discovery of the tombs. It is a coincidence, who knows? Hey, the discovery of the tomb. So we have this detailed story about how the tomb of St. James was discovered. We don't know the precise exact date. It was sometime between 818 and 842. This and this period. The story said that there was an hermit living in the woods, in the forest there in Galicia, Pelagius, we even know the name of this hermit, who was seeing mysterious lighting on an hill. In this hill, there was also a forest. So he reported his miracles to the local bishop. The local bishop went into the forest and he found a tomb with the three male bodies. Immediately, he knew that these three bodies were St. James and his apostles. So this story has many details that are interesting. First of all, the location, hill and woods. Usually, Celtic shrine were on hill and in woods. So it is possible that that site was a pagan Celtic shrine on top of this hill in the woods. Then the fact that the bishop, Theodomir, immediately identified James, that means that there must have been a story about James, if we can say that it's the body of James. So probably oral legend, or it's also possible that someone wrote about this legend before Nectar, but the writing didn't survive to us, so it's lost, it is writing. So, but it's very curious that he immediately identified James. So the legend was already known in Galicia, if he can do this. Then with the bishop go to the local king, King Alfonso of Asturias. He ordered the building of this chapel, and the remains of St. James were brought in this chapel. And this is where the place where now there is the Cathedral of Santiago. Immediately, the news of the discovery of the saint spread across Europe, and pilgrims start to arrive in Santiago, flock to Santiago as early as 865, so pretty early, after 20 years after the discovery. So it's pretty early. And that's how basically this Camino starts. However, we know, so now with this story, we have a problem. We know that James died in Jerusalem, he was decapitated. So how the body of James traveled from the Holy Land, from Jerusalem to Santiago. And that's why we have this later story that explains how the body of St. James arrived in Spain. This legend, this story, it's described in this Codex Calixtinus. I will talk more about because it's a key text for the Camino, for the St. James cult. So basically, according to this Codex Calixtinus, St. James' disciples basically brought the body of James, so the decapitated body, because remember, there is a church in Jerusalem with the head of James. So they decapitated the body on this boat, and miraculously this boat from Palestine, from the Holy Land, sail all the Mediterranean, cross the Pillar of Hercules or Gibraltar, and went all the way to Galicia. So that is the story goes. When they arrived in Galicia, there was Lucia, a Celtic queen. A Celtic queen was ruling Galicia. And look at the name, Lupa or Lupia. I mean, in Italian, Lupa it means she-wolf. It's the same in Spanish. Lupa, it's a she-wolf.
No, Loba.
Loba, okay.
It's the same derivative, though.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, this is the Latin word. So basically, even the name is suspicious. When you have in all this myth a woman called Lupa has a particular meaning. So even the name here it's suspicious. For example, the she-wolf with Romulus and Remus probably was a woman who was called Lupa and then became a she-wolf. So it's the Lupa, the wolf. It's very common in all these ancient legends. So here already the name, it's very suspicious, and the Celtic reference also, it's very interesting here. A Celtic queen in the 9th century CE. So then there's all this story, it's very detailed, that the follower of James went to the palace of this queen, and they asked for a temple. There was a pagan temple for burying the body of James. She refused, she sent troops, but there was a miracle. After this miracle, the queen converted to Christianity, and she gave an oxen and an ox cart for carry the body of St. James. So the follower put the body on this cart, and they decided they would bury the body in the place where the oxen will rest. At this place, it's where is today the Cathedral of Santiago. So that is the legend. So here again, there are many interesting points. The Celtic, the pagan temple. So again, this it makes me think that Santiago was the site of a pagan ritual, a pagan shrine. So this local bishop, I'm trying to Christianizing this pagan site by claiming that there is the burial place of St. James. So this is, I think, it's an example of Christianization of indigenous cult. Okay, this Codex Calixtinus, it's a super important text. So I have, for me, this Codex Calixtinus, it's a kind of tourist guide of Santiago, a kind of Lonely Planet guide of the medieval time. So, because it has a lot of information about the Camino. So this Codex Calixtinus, also known as Codex Compostellanus, is called in this way because it supposedly was written by a pope, Pope Calixtus, but we know that he's not the author of this manuscript, probably was a French scholar. These codex are basically it's the collection of several books. Some of these books talk about that all these books are connected with St. James. And some of these books, remember book 3, it's the story of the transfer of the body to Santiago. The story of Lupa came from this book. In the 4th book, there is the story about Charlemagne. We will talk more about this. So there are all these legends, all these stories about St. James in this text. Look at the date of composition, 1140, 1170, so 12th century, so it's a little bit later. And it was discovered in the 1800s by a Jesuit scholar, actually, this manuscript. So the book contains the story of St. James, but also give advice for pilgrim doing the Camino. The kind of the TSA gave us where to stay, where to go, the place to see along the way. So that were the kind of advices that were given in this text. There were also sermon, liturgical texts, and there were also polyphonic music in this manuscript. So one manuscript contained all the music for this liturgical, text, accompanying the liturgical text. And then also there are some description of the local people. So again, it's part religious, but also a lot of practical advice for pilgrims. So that means that at this point, the Camino is super popular. If you have someone who wrote a guide for the Camino, it means that there were many pilgrims at that point.
Which was also quite profitable for,
Yes,
for the church.
Yes, it was. So now let's look a little bit at the route, this Camino. So the route was basically, the religious route was based on a Roman and Celtic trade route. This trade route was called the Milky Way because it seems to point the direction of the Milky Way. There are some legends connected to this trail, this route to the Milky Way. Also, Galicia was in the Roman world, in the Celtic world, was also a place with a lot of symbolism. For the Romans, this was the end of the world. Beyond the Atlantic Ocean, there was nothing. So that was literally the end of the known world, was the age of the world. And that's, they call this part of Galicia Finis Terrae, that is the Latin for the end of the world. And from this we have the village town of Finisterre came from this, so the end of the world. So for the Roman, going to Finisterre, to Galicia, was like traveling to the end of the world. Other legend also locate in Galicia the entrance to the underworld, to the pagan underworld, and the Elysian field. The Elysian field was this part of the pagan Greco-Roman underworld, where the blessed one were living there. So a lot of symbolism here, you see, end of the world, entrance to the underworld, this connection with the Milky Way. So here you have some legend. So this link between this trade route, the Milky Way, inspired theory and legend. One theory, the word Compostela, but this I'm not sure if it's true or no, it's more. So Compostela, according to this theory, derived from the Latin Campus Stellae, the field of the star. But I repeat, the scholars are not really agree about this theory. Others think the Compostela came from Composita Terra, burial ground. So, but there is in this theory, there is a reference to the Milky Way. Then another legend, the Milky Way was created by the dust raised by the traveling pilgrims. So the Milky Way always fascinated the ancient and medieval people. We have a lot of Greek myth about the Milky Way. Also the name Milky Way came from this Greek myth about the milk from Juno. So yeah, it always fascinated ancient people, the Milky Way. And then a third legend, it's about this dream of Charlemagne. One night, St. James appeared in dream of Charlemagne and told him, go along the Milky Way and free my tomb. Free from whom? From the Arabs, from the Moors. So Charlemagne, at this point in Charlemagne, there is this clash of civilization between the Christians and the Muslims. Spain was a battlefield for this fight between the Christians and Muslim. And this story is in the Codex Calixtinus. Now, concluding, so this is a reference to the to free the tomb from the Moors. This is a reference to a particular attribute of St. James. St. James sometimes it's defining by Matamoros. Matamoros is a Spanish word, it means the Moor slayer. So there are several legends that originated this title, this nickname. One of these legends is about this mythical battle that never happened. It's not historical. It's the battle, I don't know to pronounce it, Clavijo, the Battle of Clavijo. So in this mythical battle, at some point, St. James appeared with his horse, and he led the Christian army of the king in northern Spain to defeat the army of the Moor that were in Andalusia, in southern Spain. After this legend, that supposedly was fought in 844. Again, did you see? It's very close to the time when there was the discovery of the tomb. So everything happened in the mid-9th century. So all this legend pointed to this particular time. So after this battle, it became known as Matamoros. So, and St. James and the site of Santiago became a symbol of the struggle between the Christian kings who were in northern Spain and the Moors that were in the southern part of Spain. It became the protector of the Christians who were fighting against the Muslim. So it became a kind of nationalistic saint. So he has all these significance also. So these fight against the Moors. So probably this legend of the Battle of the Matamoros was also originated because the Moors did some raid in Santiago in the 9th century. It seems that they caused a lot of damages to the city. So probably this historical event probably prompted the Christians of northern Spain to create this legend. Also, the Arabs, the Moors, were not the only one who raided Santiago. So the Viking made some raid to Santiago, they did some damage. And it seems that in this Viking northern saga, Galicia is known as Jacob land, so the land of St. James. So that this saint became very associated with this territory with Galicia. So they were very intertwined, and this saint became the symbol of not only this territory, but also the fight of Christians against Muslims. I have more, but I will keep for next time. I will talk about medieval pilgrimage and the symbol, the scallop shell. But for today, I think this is enough.
Thank you so much. Davide, for such an
You're
interesting
welcome.
lecture. I really appreciate it. Do we have any questions, any comments, anything at all? I think we're still at what happened to the head of St. James. and his body. Was it all together? Was it all separate? What was actually brought to Spain? Maybe just a hand, I don't know, a finger. Well, anyway,
It's
sounds
fascinating
a little
that-
bit morbid. Yes.
But all the pictures you show, his head is still attached. to
Yeah,
his body.
His head,
All
yeah,
these
yeah.
pictures.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but this is a legend who was building centuries, piece by piece. So first the martyrdom, then the story connected to Spain. It's a very long process. It took centuries for this worship to develop. So that's why there are all these small pieces that are added in different times for justifying all these.
Thank you. Do we have some questions? It seems like it is all muted.
No, that was from before.
That was wonderful. Okay, fine. So I think we are done for today. Thank you so much for joining us here. And I will be sending an email about our next meeting, our next and actually last meeting. And it will be happening sometime in at the end of April, probably the 28th. The 28th, I believe it's a Friday. But I'll send an email just kind of to confirm the exact time and day.
Margaret,
Yes.
we can.
YouTube, so everyone will have an access to it with your permission, because that's actually your intellectual property. So we have to make, and also Dr. Carlo suggested to see a movie before going to El Camino as kind of a nice introduction to it. It's called The Way by Emilio Estevez. I'm not sure if you saw that movie, but it's a good movie. It's a good movie to see. Armin, you did suggest something else. Can you, your own production on YouTube? Because Armin was actually, you did El Camino Frances, right? The French route?
Yes, I did the French route, the whole thing, which was 500 miles. And what made me do it was actually the movie, The Way. And I do recommend that movie because it's a fictional story, but the dynamics, the social dynamics of pilgrims is actually captured very, very nicely. And I've made, I was walking with my GoPro and I just recorded things here and there. And I've made like 25 minutes movie of my own and I posted on YouTube. I mean, there are those singing nuns of Carry On, some. No, I just recorded my impressions. If you want to see it, be my guest. Margaret has the link to it, so you can send the link if you're interested.
I'll distribute the link then. Thank you so much, Armin. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you again for being here with us on this Friday afternoon. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy a spring break, Easter break, whatever is coming your way. And then we'll be seeing each other again in April. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.